Okay, so I've got all of my pinwheels pinned together now, and I wanted to make it clear and remind you all that you always work from the back side of your fabric. That's standard for just about any quilt. There are rare occasions, but for any, traditionally, you want to work from the back sides of your fabric. You want your two good sides facing each other. When working with triangles, it's important to remember that there's only one right corner to sew. All the other corners are wrong. There's only one correct corner to sew on when you're working with triangles. That will vary depending on what you're doing with the triangles. If you're putting them face to face, if you're making diamond shapes, or if you're making hourglasses, or if you're doing pinwheels, that right corner is going to change. Because obviously, when you fold it open, you want to maintain your pinwheel. And if you sew it on the wrong side, for example, let me show you what's going to happen. I'll take my pins out. So what happens is, if you sew it on the wrong side, if you don't sew it correctly, and you go to open it, what you're going to have is something that looks like that, and then it also doesn't line up with where you had it before. And you've got a completely different shape going on there. So, you only have one right corner to sew on when you're working with triangles. There's another reason why I recommend beginners start out with simple, basic squares. Because we want this to be fun for you. We do not want you to get discouraged. We do not want you to get frustrated and then decide you don't like to sew because you keep messing up. So stick to the basics so you can see that you can do it, so that it's fun for you, so that you can develop a habit where you enjoy it, and then proceed to more complicated things. Start with your basic squares. And when you sew your basic squares together, you're going to work from the back side, and you're going to sew one side at a time. I usually sew this one, fold it down, flip another one over, fold it down, flip another over, sew it, fold it down, and keep going until you have a row of, well, it depends on what size quilt you want and what size squares you're working with, but, you know, traditionally about 5.5, 6 feet long. And then, depending on what you're making it for, if it's for a bed, you're going to want, you know, it depends on the size bed. If it's a king bed, traditionally, the same width as your length, so 5.5 to 6 feet wide. I think people make them a little bigger for king beds, though, so that it'll hang over more, which is the beauty of making your own and not buying them. A lot of people don't like how when you buy a king-size comforter or something, then it still shows the mattress underneath. They make their own because they can make it hang way down. It can touch the floor if you want it to, if you make it long enough. It can hide both your mattresses. It can hide your bed skirt, however long you want it to be or however short you want it to be. So that's the beauty of making your own. But I believe the standard size for king is 6 feet long and 6 feet wide. So, but that's also the correct way for sewing a square. You basically sew one side until you get a whole row, and then you do another whole row, and you keep going until you have all the rows 6 feet long, and then you start flipping it over and sewing those rows together. But I just wanted to show this on the page.